Rich FIL caught me with a friend. At doctor's office and demanded $50K to keep quiet. Now he's stalking us and sending creepy packages. You won't believe how it ended. I, 32F, have been married to my husband Sebastian, 34M, for 6 years now. We met during our senior year of college when we were both volunteering at a local animal shelter. I was immediately drawn to his kind heart and goofy sense of humor. We bonded over our shared love of animals and our dreams of making a difference in the world. After graduation, we moved in together and started building our life as a couple. Sebastian comes from a wealthy family with deep roots in our city. His father, Robert, 58M, is a prominent businessman who prides himself on his family's long-standing social status. Sebastian's mother, Sandra, is a socialite who spends most of her time organizing charity events and maintaining the family's social connections. Growing up, Sebastian always felt pressure to live up to his family's expectations, but he never quite fit the mold they had in mind for him. I, on the other hand, come from a working-class background. My parents immigrated to this country when I was a toddler, and they worked multiple jobs to provide for our family. I grew up watching them sacrifice everything to give me and my siblings a better life. Their work ethic and determination inspired me to pursue higher education, and I was the first in my family to go to college. From the moment Sebastian introduced me to his parents, I could tell Robert disapproved. He barely concealed his disdain when Sebastian mentioned that I was studying to become a teacher. I remember the awkward silence that fell over the dinner table when Robert asked about my family background, and I explained that my father worked as a janitor and my mother as a home health aide. Over the years, Robert's disapproval of me has only grown more apparent. He's made countless snide remarks about my career choice, suggesting that teaching is a hobby rather than a real profession. He's criticized everything from the way I dress to the car I drive, always with a thin veneer of politeness that makes it hard to directly call him out. Sandra, while not as openly hostile, has never made me feel welcome either. She's constantly making backhanded compliments about how brave I am to wear certain outfits, or how interesting my cultural background is. It's clear she sees me as some sort of exotic curiosity rather than a member of the family. Sebastian has always defended me, but he also hates conflict and tends to try to smooth things over rather than directly confront his parents' behavior. I understand why. He grew up walking on eggshells around his father's temper and his mother's passive-aggressive tactics. It's a habit that's hard to break. But over time, the constant tension has taken its toll on our relationship. Last month, I was diagnosed with a medical condition that requires surgery. It's not life-threatening, but it's serious enough to be scary, and the recovery process will be challenging. Sebastian has been incredibly supportive, but he's also been swamped at work with a big project that could lead to a promotion. He's been torn between wanting to be there for me and needing to focus on his career. Last week, I had a follow-up appointment at my doctor's office to discuss the surgery and recovery process. Sebastian had an important meeting he couldn't reschedule, so my best friend Lisa offered to come with me for support. Lisa and I have been friends since middle school. She's like a sister to me, and she's been a rock throughout this whole medical ordeal. As we sat in the waiting room, going over some paperwork the nurse had given me, I heard a familiar voice say, "Emily? What are you doing here?" I looked up to see Robert standing there, an odd expression on his face. I was surprised to see him. As far as I knew, he didn't have any medical issues, and this wasn't exactly a hospital where you'd run into people by chance. Before I could respond, his eyes landed on Lisa and narrowed suspiciously. "Who's this?" he demanded, his voice dripping with disdain. "This is my friend Lisa," I replied, confused by his hostile tone. "She came with me for my appointment." Robert's face twisted into a sneer. "Oh, really? Your friend, is it? Does Sebastian know about your little friend?" I was stunned. It took me a moment to realize what he was implying. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice shaking slightly. Robert leaned in close, his voice low and menacing. "Listen here, you gold-digging tramp. I always knew you weren't good enough for my son. Now I have proof that you're cheating on him. But I'm willing to keep quiet. For a price." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My hands started to shake, and I felt Lisa tense beside me. "Are you trying to blackmail me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Robert's eyes gleamed with a cruel satisfaction. "Call it what you want," he said with a shrug. "But unless you want Sebastian to hear all about your doctor's visit with your special friend, you'll do what I say. I have some investments that didn't pan out quite as expected. $50,000 should cover my losses. Consider it a small price to pay for your marriage." I was shaking with anger and disbelief. This man, who had looked down on me for years because of my family's financial status, was now trying to extort money from me. The hypocrisy was staggering. "You're out of your mind," I hissed, finding my voice at last. "I'm here for a medical procedure. Lisa is my friend who came to support me because your son had a work obligation. I would never cheat on Sebastian, and I'm certainly not giving you any money." Robert's face hardened, all pretense of civility dropping away. "You'll regret this," he spat. "I always knew you were trash. I'm going to make sure Sebastian finally sees it too. You think he'll believe you over his own father? You're nothing but a gold-digging whore who seduced my son. I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about you." At that moment, a nurse called my name. I gathered my things with shaking hands and hurried into the back, leaving Robert glowering in the waiting room. Lisa followed close behind, her face pale with shock. The appointment was a blur. All I could think about was Robert's threats and how I was going to tell Sebastian what happened. The doctor must have noticed my distress because she asked several times if I was feeling all right. I managed to focus enough to discuss the upcoming surgery, but my mind was reeling. When I got home that evening, Sebastian could immediately tell something was wrong. I broke down as soon as he hugged me, sobbing into his chest. Through my tears, I told him everything that had happened at the doctor's office. Sebastian was livid. I've never seen him so angry. His face turned red, and his hands shook as he paced our living room. He immediately called his father, putting the phone on speaker so I could hear. Robert answered with a smug, "Hello, son. I was hoping you'd call. We need to talk about your wife's behavior." Sebastian cut him off. "No, Dad. We need to talk about your behavior. How dare you threaten and try to blackmail Emily? How dare you accuse her of cheating when you know damn well she's having surgery soon? What the hell is wrong with you?" Robert sputtered, clearly caught off guard by Sebastian's fury. He tried to spin some story about catching me with another man, but Sebastian shut him down. "Stop lying," Sebastian snapped. "I know about Emily's medical issues. I know Lisa was there as a friend because I had a meeting I couldn't miss. Your pathetic attempt to exploit my wife's illness for financial gain is disgusting. You're no father of mine." "Now, son," Robert began, his voice taking on a placating tone. "I'm sure we can work this out. I was just looking out for your best interests. You know how I've always worried about Emily's intentions." "My best interests?" Sebastian's voice rose to a shout. "You tried to blackmail my wife while she's dealing with a serious medical issue. You've never given Emily a chance. You've looked down on her from day one because she doesn't fit your elitist worldview. I'm done. Don't call me. Don't contact Emily. Don't come to our house. We're through." With that, Sebastian hung up the phone. He turned to me, his eyes softening as he took in my tear-stained face. He pulled me into a tight hug, murmuring apologies and reassurances. That was 5 days ago. Sebastian hasn't spoken to his father since, despite Robert's attempts to contact him. Sebastian says he's done with his father for good this time. Part of me feels guilty for coming between them, but a bigger part is relieved to finally be free of Robert's constant hostility and judgment. Sandra has been calling and texting nonstop, begging us to forgive Robert. She says he's sorry and didn't mean it. But how do you not mean to try to blackmail someone? How do you accidentally threaten to blow up someone's marriage for money? I don't know where we go from here. Sebastian seems committed to cutting his father out of our lives, but I worry he'll regret it eventually. I know how much pressure Sebastian has always felt to live up to his family's expectations. What if he starts to resent me for being the reason he's estranged from them? And I'm dreading the family drama this is sure to cause. Robert is well connected in our community, and I'm worried about the stories he might spread. What if people believe him? What if it affects my job at the school? Am I wrong for feeling relieved that Robert is out of our lives? Should I be pushing Sebastian to reconcile with his father? I could use some outside perspectives on this mess. Update 1. It's been about 3 weeks since the incident with Robert at the doctor's office, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments on my original post. Reading your responses helped me feel less crazy and more confident in standing my ground. Sebastian has remained firm in his decision to cut contact with his father. Robert tried showing up at our house unannounced about a week after everything went down. We were having dinner when we heard aggressive knocking at the door. Sebastian looked through the peephole and saw his father standing there, red-faced and clearly agitated. Sebastian cracked the door open but kept the chain on. "What do you want, Dad?" he asked, his voice tight with anger. Robert tried to push his way in, but the chain held. "We need to talk, son," he slurred, and I could smell the alcohol on his breath from where I stood behind Sebastian. "You can't shut me out. I'm your father." "You lost the right to call yourself that when you tried to blackmail my wife," Sebastian said firmly. "Leave now, or I'm calling the police." Robert's face contorted with rage. "You ungrateful little shit!" he shouted. "After everything I've done for you! That gold-digging whore has poisoned you against your own family!" Sebastian slammed the door shut and locked it. Robert continued to pound on the door and shout obscenities for several minutes before we heard him stumble away. We installed security cameras after that incident, which made me feel a bit safer. But I was still on edge, jumping every time the phone rang or there was a knock at the door. I started having trouble sleeping, plagued by nightmares about Robert breaking into our house or showing up at my workplace. Sebastian's mother, Sandra, has been relentless in trying to get us to reconcile with Robert. She's called Sebastian daily, left teary voicemails, and even sent a few flying monkeys our way in the form of extended family members who've reached out to guilt trip Sebastian about abandoning family. Last weekend, things escalated further. We were having dinner with my parents when Sebastian got a call from his younger sister, Megan. Sebastian doesn't talk about Megan much. She's 5 years younger than him, and they were never particularly close growing up. Robert always pitted them against each other, favoring whoever was more successful at the moment. Apparently, Robert had shown up drunk at Megan's house, ranting about how I had stolen his son and ruined his family. He demanded that Megan side with him against us. When she refused, he became belligerent and started breaking things. Megan had to call the police to remove him. Sebastian was shaken by this. He and Megan may not be close, but the idea of his father terrorizing his sister seemed to be a wake-up call for him. He finally blocked his mother's number and sent a group text to the extended family, explaining that he was taking a step back from family communication for a while and asking them to respect our privacy. The next day, Sebastian suggested we see a family counselor together. Not to reconcile with his parents, but to work through our feelings about everything that's happened and make sure we're on the same page moving forward. I agreed, thinking it could only help. We had our first session yesterday. It was emotional but productive. The counselor helped us articulate our fears and concerns. Sebastian admitted he's struggled with guilt over cutting off his parents, even though he knows it's the right thing to do. He talked about how he's always felt like a disappointment to his father, never quite living up to the expectations set for him. I became a lawyer like he wanted, Sebastian said, his voice thick with emotion. But it was never enough. He always wanted more, for me to be more ruthless, to chase bigger cases, bigger clients. When I told him I wanted to focus on environmental law, he laughed in my face, said it was a waste of my potential. I shared my fear that this rift might eventually cause Sebastian to resent me. I told the counselor about how I've always felt like an outsider in Sebastian's family, how Robert's constant criticism has eroded my self-esteem over the years. I love Sebastian more than anything, I said, wiping away tears. But sometimes I wonder if his life would be easier if he'd married someone his parents approved of. Sebastian reached out and squeezed my hand at that. Never, he said firmly. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, Emily. I'm just sorry it took me so long to stand up to my father. The counselor gave us some communication exercises to practice and suggested we each write a letter to Robert and Sandra, not to send, just for ourselves, expressing our feelings about their behavior over the years. We're going to work on those this week. On a practical note, I had my surgery last week. Everything went well, and I'm recovering at home now. Sebastian has been incredibly supportive, taking time off work to care for me and keeping family drama far away so I can focus on healing. My parents have been a huge help, too. They've been bringing over home-cooked meals and helping with housework. The contrast between their unconditional love and support and the toxicity of Sebastian's parents has never been more stark. I'm still processing everything that's happened, but I feel cautiously optimistic about the future. Sebastian and I are communicating better than ever, and it feels like we're truly united as a team for the first time in our marriage. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and unfortunately, things have not calmed down as much as we'd hoped. Robert seems to have escalated his behavior in response to our continued no-contact stance. About 3 weeks ago, Sebastian and I both started receiving strange, anonymous packages in the mail. At first, it was just junk random catalog clippings, old newspapers, that sort of thing. But then things took a darker turn. We received an envelope full of shredded photos of Sebastian as a child. Another package contained a mutilated stuffed animal that Sebastian recognized from his childhood bedroom. The most disturbing package arrived last week. It contained a stack of papers that looked like they had been torn from a journal. As we read through them, we realized they were entries detailing Robert's thoughts about me over the years. The level of vitriol and hatred expressed in these writings was shocking. He referred to me as a gold-digging witch *re and a foreign invasion in our family. There were also vague threats about taking care of the problem and saving Sebastian from my influence. We're almost certain it's Robert sending these things, but we can't prove it. The packages have no return address and are postmarked from various locations around the state. We've been documenting everything and have filed a report with the local police, but they say there's not much they can do without concrete evidence. Sebastian's sister Megan has also been receiving similar packages. She's installed security cameras at her house and has been keeping us updated on any strange occurrences. Last week, she caught footage of someone who looked like Robert prowling around her backyard at night. The police were called, but by the time they arrived, the person was gone. Sebastian's mother, Sandra, has switched tactics. Instead of calling and texting constantly, she's now taken to posting vague, passive-aggressive messages on social media about ungrateful children and the importance of family. She's also apparently been telling extended family members that I'm holding Sebastian hostage and won't let him speak to his parents. The stress of the situation has been taking its toll on both of us. Sebastian has been having trouble sleeping, often waking up from nightmares about his childhood. He started opening up more about his upbringing, sharing stories of Robert's emotional abuse and Sandra's enabling behavior. It's heartbreaking to hear, but I'm glad he feels safe enough with me to share these painful memories. I've been struggling too. The hateful words in Robert's journal entries keep replaying in my mind. Even though I know they're not true, it's hard not to let them get to me. I've found myself second-guessing my interactions with colleagues and parents at school, worried that Robert might have spread rumors about me in the community. On a more positive note, Sebastian and I have continued with our counseling sessions. They've been incredibly helpful in processing everything that's happening and in strengthening our relationship. We've both come to realize how much Robert's toxic behavior has affected us over the years, and we're working on setting healthier boundaries in all our relationships. The counselor has been helping us develop coping strategies for dealing with the stress and anxiety caused by Robert's harassment. We've started practicing meditation together in the evenings, which has been surprisingly helpful in calming our nerves. I've fully recovered from my surgery and am back at work. My colleagues and students have been wonderfully supportive, which has been a bright spot in all this chaos. Last week, my class surprised me with a handmade card wishing me well. It was a powerful reminder of why I love teaching and why I can't let Robert's negativity affect my career. Sebastian has been throwing himself into his work at the environmental law firm. He recently took on a big case fighting against a corporation that's been illegally dumping waste in low-income neighborhoods. He seems energized by the work, and I can see how much it means to him to be making a difference. We're taking things day by day, documenting everything, and focusing on supporting each other. It's not easy, but we're committed to maintaining the peace we've found in cutting toxic influences out of our lives. Megan has become an unexpected ally through all of this. She's been keeping us updated on any family gossip and has firmly taken our side in the conflict. It's been good for Sebastian to rebuild his relationship with his sister without Robert's interference. We're not sure what the future holds, but we're facing it together. I'll update again if there are any major developments. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm cautiously optimistic that things are finally starting to settle down. The strange packages stopped arriving about a month after my last post. We're not sure if Robert gave up or if the police involvement scared him off. But either way, it's been a relief. Sebastian and I have continued with our counseling sessions, though we've reduced the frequency to once a month now. The tools we've learned have been invaluable in helping us navigate this situation and strengthen our relationship. We've been working on communication exercises and learning to express our needs more clearly to each other. We've maintained our no-contact stance with Robert and Sandra. It hasn't been easy, especially for Sebastian. There have been moments when he's questioned our decision, particularly around holidays and family events. But overall, he says he feels more at peace than he has in years. He started opening up more about his childhood, sharing both good memories and painful ones. It's clear that he's still processing a lot of complex emotions about his upbringing. Megan has been a tremendous support through all of this. She stood by our decision and has even decided to limit her own contact with her parents after witnessing Robert's erratic behavior. She comes over for dinner once a week now, and it's been wonderful for Sebastian to strengthen his relationship with his sister without the shadow of family drama looming over them. Last week, she brought over a box of old family photos she'd found while cleaning out her apartment. Sebastian and I spent hours going through them, with Sebastian sharing stories about his childhood that he'd never told me before. We've had to distance ourselves from some extended family members who couldn't respect our boundaries, but we've also been surprised by the support we've received from others. Sebastian's cousin Sarah, who we were never particularly close to before, reached out to say she understood our decision and shared some of her own experiences with Robert's manipulative behavior. It's been eye-opening for Sebastian to realize that others in the family have had similar struggles with his father. As for me, I'm doing well. My health has improved significantly since the surgery, and I'm feeling stronger every day. I've thrown myself into my work and have started a new project at school that I'm really excited about. We're developing a mentorship program for first-generation college students, drawing on my own experiences as the first in my family to attend university. It feels good to be channeling my energy into something positive and potentially life-changing for my students. Sebastian's work at the environmental law firm has been going well. He recently won a big case against a corporation that had been polluting a local river. Seeing him passionate about his work and making a difference in the community has been wonderful. It's a stark contrast to the career path his father had tried to force him into, and it's clear that Sebastian is much happier and more fulfilled now. We've been talking about starting a family of our own soon. It's a conversation we've had on and off over the years, but always put off due to various stresses and uncertainties. Now we both feel like we're in a much healthier place, individually and as a couple. We're not rushing into anything, but it feels good to be planning for the future together. We know that maintaining boundaries is an ongoing process, and we're prepared for potential challenges down the road. The holidays are approaching, and we expect there might be renewed pressure from Sandra or other family members to reconcile. But we feel better equipped to handle whatever comes our way. For now, we're enjoying the peace and stability we've worked so hard to achieve. We're focusing on building the life we want, surrounded by people who genuinely support and care for us. It's not always easy, but it feels right. Thank you to everyone who has followed our story and offered support along the way.